Mario Kart 8 is the best-selling Mario Kart game ever made, and it's also hugely beloved. But amongst the exciting tracks and gorgeous graphics, there's a blot on this game, the Mercedes-Benz DLC. In 2014, Nintendo announced and released a free update to Mario Kart 8, which added 3 new vehicles to the game, 3 real-life Mercedes cars. These odd, realistic vehicles seem really out of place amongst fantastical cars like the Cat Cruiser and the Biddy Buggy. So, in this video, I want to explore how Nintendo ended up working with a real-life car company, how people reacted to this strange DLC, and how it affected Nintendo's games going forward. Let's explore Nintendo's weirdest DLC. So, to set the scene a little, in the early 2010s, Nintendo was in a shaky position. When the 3DS launched in 2011, sales were far lower than expected. To turn things around, Nintendo slashed the price by nearly $100 and fast-tracked some heavy-hitter games like Mario Kart 7 and Super Mario 3D Land. And it worked. Sales began picking up, and years later, no one thinks of the 3DS as a failure. But when, a couple of years later, the Wii U launched with even weaker sales, Nintendo was really in a tricky position. This time round, there was no big price cut, but Nintendo hoped that by releasing some heavy hitters for the Wii U, they'd be able to turn things around. And at the center of this strategy was Mario Kart 8. This would be the first HD Mario Kart title, featuring stunning modern graphics and music recorded by a live jazz band, which Nintendo showed off as part of the game's marketing. In other words, Nintendo was going all out to make sure that Mario Kart 8 wasn't just a hit, but the game that would change the Wii U's fate. And this is where Mercedes-Benz comes into the story. In 2013, the luxury car maker unveiled a new model of vehicle called the GLA. It was a type of compact SUV which the company hoped would become a top seller, and they were keen to make a splash when it launched the following year. Mercedes in Japan had the idea of partnering with a beloved brand to get people's attention, and the brand they decided on was Nintendo. According to a marketing executive at Mercedes Japan, to showcase the GLA's all-around driving ability, its agility, and the fun of driving, we decided to collaborate with Super Mario Bros., which has been loved by generations of people in Japan since its release in 1985. Specifically, the collaboration would have Mario appear in TV ads for the new car, along with Mercedes DLC being released for 2 of Nintendo's games, Super Mario Maker and Mario Kart 8. First, the ad. You might actually have seen clips from this Mercedes-Benz ad online, as it ended up going kind of viral. As Mercedes executive said, it shows off the all-terrain abilities of the GLA car by having it drive its way through a Super Mario Bros. Level. But the reason the ad went viral was because of what happens next. Mario leaves the game world in his fancy car and emerges as a real human, a kind of weirdly hot human at that. But while the ad may be odd, it's the Mario Kart DLC that's stranger still. 3 real-life Mercedes cars were added to Mario Kart 8. A 1930s race car called the W25, a 1950s sports car called the 300SL, and lastly, the brand new Mercedes GLA. These new in-game cars were shown off in promotional material and in TV adverts. Initially, the DLC was only announced for Japan, but word quickly travelled online that Mercedes cars were to be added to Mario Kart 8, and before long, Nintendo confirmed that the DLC was to be released globally. Inside Nintendo, the reaction to this Mercedes DLC was, well, mixed. Former Nintendo of America marketing lead Kit Ellis said, "I remember quite clearly working on this DLC, and it was like, what are we doing here? This was shaky." And according to Krista Yang, also a marketing lead at Nintendo of America, that was a real shocker. It was definitely so not like Nintendo to do something like this. It didn't match up with the game at all and was such a strange partnership. And it's true, while Mercedes had partnered up with other video games before, up until this point it had been racing games like Forza, where all of the cars and racetracks are realistic. A Mercedes car doesn't look out of place there. But Mario Kart is different. It's a cartoon world full of goofy vehicles and wacky courses that take place in space or in a giant bathtub. A realistic, lifelike car looks out of place here. But that was, in a way, the whole point. Like I said, it was Mercedes who approached Nintendo about the partnership. Nintendo could have said no. They could have refused to put Mercedes cars into Mario Kart. So why did they accept the offer? Well, by 2014, the Wii U was struggling, and Nintendo was betting all their chips on Mario Kart 8. Anything they could do to get people's attention, to get eyes on the game, they were willing to do. And that included striking up unconventional partnerships. Kit Ellis explained, "I think this was Nintendo operating from a position of weakness, and like, what can we do? Let's bend our rules a little bit to drum up something. I would never expect them to make a deal like this again." And sure enough, this odd partnership got people talking. Inside Nintendo, some were worried that the reaction would be negative, that people would accuse Nintendo of selling out. But instead, people largely responded with confusion. Some forum posts from the time say things like, "I'm not fazed by product placement, so seeing something this unworldly, in Mushroom Kingdom terms, in Mario Kart is so out of place that it makes me laugh." Another poster wrote, "If it helps Mario Kart 8 get more attention, I'm all for it." Of course, there were also more negative takes. "I hate this, a real-life car like that doesn't belong in a colourful kart racing game." But those were the minority. In general, people were a little weirded out, but largely on board with the crossover. As for Mercedes, they were very happy with how things worked out. Head of marketing at the company, Dr. Jens Thiemer, said in a press release, "By appearing in a popular game like Mario Kart 8, we are able to reach a new generation of customers, particularly the younger generation, and are achieving excellent results in keeping our brand fresh." To cap off the collaboration, a team within Mercedes designed a level in Super Mario Maker, which was then released for players to try, giving them access to a GLA costume for the game. All of this, the TV adverts and both sets of DLC, managed to get eyes on Mercedes' new car. The president of Mercedes Japan, Kintaro Ueno, said in an interview, "It was quite a talking point, bringing a lot of people to the showroom. This is a new market segment for us, but it has exceeded our expectations. I can say that it's going well." That doesn't mean that some of the more negative feedback didn't reach the company's ears, however. Another Mercedes executive, Caroline Pilz, said in an interview, "While we received a lot of positive feedback on the campaign and the integration of our cars into Mario Kart 8, we also learned that many gamers are skeptical about brands appearing in their games." If this negative feedback reached Mercedes, it certainly would also have been heard by Nintendo. So what happened next? Was this partnership just the beginning for Nintendo? Would we see Inklings drinking Pepsi in the next Splatoon game? Would Link's tunic be emblazoned with the Nike tick in future Zelda entries? Well, the answer was no, obviously not. 2014 was a very specific time for Nintendo, a time when the company was desperate and willing to try anything if it might get Wii U's in homes. But just 3 years later, things changed completely. Nintendo ditched the Wii U and launched the Nintendo Switch. And right out of the gate, the Switch was a hit. In just 10 months, the console outsold the Wii U's 5-year sales total, and the pace showed no signs of slowing. Nintendo may have been desperate, willing to strike up strange partnerships during the Wii U era, but now, with the Switch, Nintendo were the ones with all of the power. Still, it's not like the company tried to bury this chapter of their history. When Mario Kart 8 was re-released on the Switch, Nintendo had the perfect opportunity to ditch the Mercedes DLC and pretend it never happened. But they didn't do that. For the over 70 million owners of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the Mercedes-Benz vehicles are still available to race in. Kit Ellis reflected, "Honestly, I was surprised it was included in the Switch version as well. I figured they would be like, we're getting rid of this." But in fact, they didn't get rid of it at all. Over 10 years later, this DLC feels like a weird dream. But in fact, it wasn't the only brand collab that Nintendo partook in during the era. Animal Crossing New Leaf features tie-in furniture from real-life stores, Fueki, Kokuyo Kamlin, which you won't have heard of, and 7-Eleven, which you almost certainly will have. There's even a 7-Eleven themed villager, Philly. And Splatoon has featured promotional Splatfest themes like SpongeBob vs. Patrick or McDonald's French fries versus Chicken McNuggets. But for the most part, Nintendo's era of in-game brand collabs has come to an end. Of course, outside the game world, anything goes. There's Mario Happy Meals, Zelda Lego sets, and Nintendo-branded sneakers. But the difference is, none of that touches the games themselves. Nintendo generally regard their games as precious objects. It's why they're not stuffed full of loot boxes and microtransactions. And however you look at it, collaborations like the Mario Kart Mercedes DLC run counter to that philosophy. I think that's why we've not seen anything quite like it in recent years. But hey, if the Switch 3 is a gigantic flop and Nintendo get desperate again, then who knows? iPhones in Tomodachi life? We'll have to wait and see. Hey, thanks for watching. Videos like these are made possible thanks to my terrific patrons, including Arthur Nicole, Brage233, Brett Profit, Daryl Jero, Duran Lee, Fresh Poetic, Jim Gilsonan, Kieran Chan, Kanugu, Lucas Little, May I, Michael Gunter, Skater Pie, and Thomas Söderlund.